Construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions podcast, where we're burning down the damn house because we're going to rebuild it. Every day is an opportunity to become the champion you were meant to be. And today is just like every day. You got to put in the reps. You got to continue doing what you need to do to build that business, build a personal life that you can be proud of, and do it for the reasons why you started your business. Or if you haven't started it yet, start to put together the pieces on why. As always, I am super excited for today's episode. Dan, it is great to have you here with us today.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am super excited to be here, just getting to talk with you and listen to some of your past episodes. I think our values and what we kind of believe in and how we drive our business really align in a lot of ways. So I'm just really honored to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, man. I love to hear that because I am a big preacher of alignment, collaboration. The construction industry goes coming together to serve the construction industry. Yeah. Like it's about creating wins for those that are in the industry, no matter where you're at or what your role in the construction industry. If you're working out in the field, if you're leading a company, if you work in service of it, we should just always try to be figuring out how we make wins for the construction industry happen. So I'm excited for our conversation today. Why don't you take a minute, tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself and what got you here to today?
Sure. So, well, I'm here for a couple different reasons. So kind of going back a little bit. So I own Blue Collar Back Office. I'm one of the founders of Blue Collar Back Office. Our specialty is helping small businesses, especially in the contracting world, run and organize their business. The nuts and bolts of it come down to the bookkeeping, utilizing QuickBooks Online. We make sure they have clean financials, P&L, balance sheet, stuff like that. But there's a lot of bookkeepers out there that do that. What we try to do to really kind of separate ourselves from everybody else is the stuff outside of the bookkeeping, right? Understanding your overhead, cash flow analysis, job costing, things like that. And the reason why we have expertise in doing that is before, opening Blue Collar Back Office almost 6 years ago, we've been running a construction company for the past 18 years. And, I always tell people, we're by no means the largest construction company in New Jersey. We didn't build Yankee Stadium or anything else like that, but we run a good, clean, profitable construction company that's seen growth year after year. And the reason that we do that is because we're structured, we're organized, we're on top of the things that we need to do, and nothing slips through the cracks. So as we grew and knew where to go with our business, because some of the things I'm sure we'll talk about today, we had the capacity and the foundation to build upon to help us get to where we wanted to go. And then as we were running the construction business, we dealt with a lot of subcontractors that we had great relationships with, and their foundation wasn't as strong, right? They great guys, run a great business, they do a good product, but the business side of it, the organization, the structure, the stuff that's not as, sometimes people aren't as passionate about, was where it was lacking a little bit, just because they didn't have the time or the expertise. So that's where we kind of fit in to try to help them. And then we found that, we provided a good service, and there's got to be people out there besides just our friends that needed our help. So that's how we started Blue Collar Back Office, to try to expand our reach and try to help other small businesses.
Awesome, man. I love it. It's always the friends and family. It's how stuff gets started. Like
they're good guinea pigs.
Yeah, you get out there, you figure it out, and the light bulb. There's got to be more. Like it can't just be the people I know that have this issue.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to dive in. I'm just going to get in there, ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
So I put a lot of thought into this, and there's a lot of different ways I thought about going with it. But I think what I'm going to come back to is kind of just my overreaching mantra in the construction industry, in blue collar, in my life is, if my intention is to do the right thing, I'm going to end up okay. And so are my clients, and so are the people that I care about and that are around me. So what that means is, don't try to do the easiest thing. Don't try to do the cheapest thing. Don't try to do the fastest thing. Always focus on doing the right thing. And sometimes those are going to align with what's easiest or what's cheapest, but doesn't matter. If I focus on doing the right thing, if that's my intention every single time, even if I have to then take ownership and responsibility of a mistake that I made, or I have to take the hit on a job because we mismeasured something, or whatever the case may be. If that's always my intention, I'm always going in the right direction, and things are going to work out, and it's going to be the best possible outcome for my client, for my team, and eventually for myself. Because there's nothing that ruins a relationship quicker. I'm in a service industry, whether it's talking about construction or talking about blue collar and the bookkeeping. I'm in a service industry where I'm trying to help other people, and I have a responsibility to them. And if there's dishonesty and there's shortcuts and things like that, it's the quickest way to sour a relationship, and then you're just hurting yourself long term.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you on that. I used to say a lot of when I do podcast interviews, like people would talk about how do you dictate like this outcome or that, and I'd be like, well, as long as you're moving forward without malice in your heart, like you're just doing things for the right reasons, like you can't create a bad outcome. Like,
Right.
so I agree 100% with that. But I think in the construction industry, what you're talking, it can get cloudy sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It can get cloudy in terms of kind of how you, run your projects, in terms of scheduling, your communication with the clients. I think a lot of times it comes down to being uncomfortable, right? And sometimes people don't want to be uncomfortable. And that sometimes means telling a client something they don't want to hear, whether it's in terms of the schedule or in terms of the cost, or, understanding that you're going to have to go back and do something that you didn't think you were going to have to do. So to avoid that uncomfortable feeling, sometimes people make decisions that in the long run aren't going to help them, where that moment up front, if you're honest, you own it, you take ownership of it, and you have that uncomfortable conversation, in the long run, it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit your client, and there's going to be a lot more mutual respect and satisfaction along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're having an uncomfortable conversation for the construction industry here, because like this is, I 100% agree with what you're saying, but it's something where for some reason, like if we know the tooth needs to be pulled, what we do is we just continue going around, like, and then we'll chew some gum. And
I'll chew on
then,
this side of my mouth for a while.
Yeah. Maybe it'll just fall out and it won't be that big of a deal. Like this is how we can treat not just customer interaction, employee interactions. Like I've never quite understood it, how we're willing to just continue to put the pain off instead of just having like, this is just how we do it. We're going to address it this way, or we're going to address it that way. Like why do you think that is? You've been in the industry for, you said 18 years, correct? Like, why is that?
So I think there's a couple different things to it, right? Like one of it, I think it just comes down to your kind of perspective on life. I think in almost all circumstances, personal, professional, you have the choice of being proactive or reactive. And proactive means that, you're causing the motion, you're causing the change, you're making things happen. And then, with that sometimes comes uncomfortable situations, making tough decisions, and things of that nature. Or you're being reactive, you're letting everything else happen, kind of kick everything down the road, like you said, like I'm just going to push this off until I absolutely have no choice. But by the time you've done that, it can be such a bigger problem than what it was in the beginning. So like that's a big part of it, is trying to take control of what's going on. And the other part of it is, like I said, people don't want confrontation, and sometimes people are afraid to say no. And especially in the contracting business, I see this a lot. And as a small business owner, I see this a lot, is when you're starting a business, no matter what business, but when you're starting a business, it's hard to turn down anything. You don't want to say no to anything. And so a client can come to you and they can have, a specific need that doesn't really fit what you do. You aren't, you're not tailored to do that. You're not the best fit for it, but you don't want to say no. You're so afraid that if you say no to this, the next opportunity doesn't come. So you just say yes to everything. Everything that comes along, you say, yes, I can do it. No problem. It's going to be great, even if you really can't. And then you're just creating a situation for yourself where you're putting undue stress on you, on your team, and you're not really delivering for the client. So one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the last few years is that you're sometimes doing a service for the client by telling them upfront, like, hey, no, I'm not the best fit for this. This isn't something that I specialize in, and I can deliver for you what your expectations are. So here's what I can do, and then walk them down a road that's better suited for them. And then I've had that conversation with, several potential clients over the years. And what's happened is I've gotten referrals and I've gotten other clients from those people because they respected the fact that I was honest with them up front. So when they knew somebody that I could service, they gave them my name. So it's just about the honesty all the way around. It all comes back. Even though it hurts right now, in the end, it's going to feel better.
100%. I know there's no more of a freeing feeling than just understanding this is what we do and we're only going to do it. I mean, you work around the numbers aspects of things a lot, but I feel like in the construction industry, like we chase top line revenue so much that we lose sight of the bottom line. Like we'll do whatever we can to bring in this business, even if it might destroy us, because we feel like we need that top line revenue, or we just need cash flow. We make all these excuses for why on this project I do kitchens, but they have a bath right off of it. I'm just going to do the bathroom too. Like, why not?
So it's funny. I talk to, obviously I talk to a lot of people in the construction industry on a regular basis. And a lot of times people give me that top line number. I do this much in revenue. And it's like, cool. What's your bottom line number? That's what impresses me. Because you can do 10 million in revenue and, make 10 grand in profit at the end of the year. And that's not all impressive. That sounds like a lot of headaches to me. That sounds like a lot of work to make a top line number and make no bottom line number. I'd be way more impressed if you were doing, 200,000 in revenue and you were making 50,000 in profit. That means you're turning a good overhead number and you're doing you're running your jobs profitably. So, but it's, people love that top line number. Like you said, some of it's ego. And trust me, I love to know what my top line number is. And I have goals set for it. But everybody wants to say I run first you want to say I run $1 million business. And then you want to say I run a $10 million business and a 20 million and so on and so forth. A lot of people have those goals and you make decisions that drive you towards that number instead of towards your bottom line number.
Absolutely. So how do you help guys get out of that mindset? Besides the fact that you just make more money if you focus on the bottom.
Yeah. So I think it's being a little bit granular. So in our construction industry, our construction company, when we started out, we were just doing strictly drywall. That's it. We were a drywall contractor. So, and that's an industry, which I'm sure, it's a quantity over quality. You got to do a lot of jobs and you're grinding to make any kind of money. And then we slowly got into doing, paint work and minor, residential work and so on and so forth. But one of the key things that we did, my business partner and I, Anthony, is, we knew right from the beginning is we don't want to just look at our company's P&L. We want to look at a job by job basis. We want to be granular. So for a couple different reasons. One, we want to be able to catch where we make mistakes, because it's going to happen. We're going to mismeasure something, right? But if we catch it, it gives us an opportunity to correct it going forward. But the other thing it really allowed us to do was understand the areas of our business where we were making money and where we were just grinding and spinning our wheels and everything else like that. So as the years went on, we got into this great niche of working in independent living and assisted living retirement communities, doing renovation work there, flipping over apartments, doing new cabinets, flooring, stuff like that. Nothing crazy, but just, makeover renovations. And because we're job costing, because we knew, where we were spending money, losing money, our profit on each job, we got to break our company out into these 3 different categories and understand here's how we do on drywall, here's how we do on painting, here's how we do on quote unquote construction, which we put into that category. So we could see this is the bucket that's filling up our bottom line. This bucket's filling in our top line, but it's taking up a ton of our time. It's, taking up 80% of our time and it's only contributing 5% of our profit. So it's like, it's not a good ratio. And it was because we were granular enough to look at our jobs that way. And that's really what I try to stress to any potential clients and our existing clients is to not just look at the bank account each week and be like, hey, I got more money in the bank account today than I had last Friday. I must be doing great. Because there's a difference between being successful and reaching your potential. And that's what I try to do is help these clients, help these construction companies reach their potential of what they actually could be doing.
Yeah. And what a lot of times is we will find, like, if you really get down into what you're talking about doing, you'll probably find an aspect of your business that's costing you 50% of your money. Like that's just eating it up. It might be adding to that top line, but it's literally you're robbing from Paul to pay Peter situation. And too often I see guys get involved in that.
Yeah. And then again, it's that letting go, right? You're so afraid to let go of that part of the business because it's generating so much work. And in your mind, it's generating so much revenue, but it's not generating anything on the bottom line. The other thing that getting granular helps you do is understanding your clients more, right? So you can have client A who does a significant amount of work with you. They pay their bills on time. They have a 30-day turnaround, and you make a good amount of profit on it. You could have client B who you do a ton of work with, but they take 60 to 90 days and 15 follow-up emails to pay you. And it turns out you don't even really make that much money on them, right? So when the phone rings and there's an emergency, who should you be jumping for? The client that pays their bills on time and you actually make a decent profit on, or the one that takes 90 days to pay and screws up your cash flow and you're actually not making any money? But if you don't do the exercise of running your business that way, you don't know that information.
Yeah, and these are all trends that you can spot. I mean, I've been down this road where you start putting this stuff together and you have these aha moments where you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. We just shouldn't do jobs like that, or do jobs for these specific kind of clients, or this. Like, you start to find that demographic, and what that helps with is everything else you do. Marketing, sales, anything you do after you understand like who your ideal customer is, then you can go right after them.
Yeah. Yeah. It allows you to become specialized, in essentially what you do. And your employees, your crews, your teams, your subs, it helps all that too, right? Because it's creating repetition, the expectations the same, everything else like that becomes more of a pattern, more of a routine, and you just get better at it. It's like anything else, swinging a golf club, anything. The more times you do it, the better you get at it. And so we're really big in structure and organization and routine. It doesn't mean that we're robotic and things never have to change. Like you're saying at the top, burning the house down so you can rebuild it. A variation of that is one of the most important things that was ever said to me in my life. One of my first jobs, I was an outdoor salesman, just knocking on doors, business to business. And I said to my boss at the time, who's one of my valued mentors in life, we were talking about something. And I said, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he looked me dead in the eyes and he goes, if it ain't broke, break it and then rebuild it better. Because once you become complacent and just think that nothing ever changes, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. It's very hard to actually stand still. So structure and organization is really important to me, and it's something that I talk about a lot, but it's also about looking towards what you should be doing next week, not always what you're doing today.
Well, you can't break something if there's nothing there to break.
Well, that's true,
you're just
too.
continuing on. Like, I mean, and it makes your employees so much happier when you have efficient, like when you're like, this is just what they're, because chances are it's killing your business, they don't even like doing. And they're going to be so much happier. Like, I think we feed ourselves lines of BS to try to make things okay. But all we have to do is just look in the mirror, face the reality, and say, this is what has to happen for this company to continue to succeed and go in the direction we want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And also looking at, everybody can have different goals. Not everybody wants to turn their company into a $50 million a year company with, 100 employees. That's not everybody's goal. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people they want to run a company with 10 employees and, make a good living and be good to the community and good to their clients. And that is fantastic. It's commendable. I love that. And I want to support that. But understanding what your vision is and what your goal is, and then acting accordingly feeds down to everybody else in your team. Because, if you want to become that $100 million company with 100 employees, you have to start thinking about that when you're a $250,000 employee and putting the foundation in place now for that to happen. It's not going to happen by mistake. It's not going to happen overnight. And if it does, you're not going to be prepared to handle it. So having a vision and then making sure it actually feeds into the rest of your team and the rest of your culture is really important, because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for frustration.
Absolutely, man. You're right on point with all of that. So, great show. I mean, like you bring in a lot of great points. I love them. There's a lot of golden nuggets in this episode for guys. So if anybody wanted to follow you, find out more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Honestly, best place to start is our website, bluecollarbackoffice.com. So on there, we try to have a bunch of information about what we do, services we offer, our About Us page. As you can see, everybody from our team, we got a great team of people. I mean, that's really what makes us is our team. And honestly, I say a lot of stuff, and I do love getting to meet with our clients and talk with other business owners. But my most important job is just supporting my team and helping make sure that they're in a position to be successful, to do what they need to do. Because that's really what makes, us successful and my clients successful. Is if I got a bunch of miserable employees that just don't want to be here every day, that's all our clients are going to feel that. They're going to see that in the results. And so my main job is just making sure everybody else is happy and has what they need.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Love what you guys are doing. It's small business and construction is the backbone of our economy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And, you said something before about people being successful. I think the pie is infinitely big. There's a slice for everybody. So I love that you're helping other small businesses do what they need to do. And anything I can do to help support that, I'm all for.
Awesome, man. Yeah, the construction industry is such a big industry that we truly can. Like, I tell guys on here all the time, like, go start meeting up with people locally. Like, there's enough work out there. Like,
Yeah.
there's multi-million dollar contractors in every segment throughout the United States. Like,
Yep.
go start meeting your others, creating a change that you want to see. The only way the industry ever changes as a whole is if we come together and decide that change is going to happen. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about relationships. All about it. You got to have that connection. If you're an electrician, it's great to know a good plumber and vice versa. And you guys, or if you're a GC, it's great to know another GC. You can't say yes to everything. So it's really good to have good relationships because you can always learn something from somebody else, pick up a little nugget here and there. There's plenty to go around.
Absolutely, man. Well, once again, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, construction champions, another amazing episode where we talked about a lot of good things. And once again, the fascination with the top line comes up. And I know, like, it's such an amazing number to achieve. But I mean, I've been at 8 figures and lost 7 figures, and I've been at 8 figures and made 7 figures. And I'll tell you, the one where you lose the money doesn't matter. Like, it don't matter how big your company is. What matters is when you make the money. Like, the only way you can ever grow your company, have happy employees, have a happy life, is if you're profitable, right? It's not a bad word to be profitable. Like, just go out there, make money, have a vision, and don't do the things that cost you money. Focus on that bottom line. There's great people out there like Dan that helps you do that. Like that, this is, in my mind, in 2023, it's about to be 2024. Like, there's no reason to not understand what it costs you to do stuff, what a job costs you, what should you charge. Like, there's enough help out there. Go get it. Like, that's what champions do. I know it's been brought up on here many times, is how many gold medal winners are there? How many gold medal winners have coaches? Like, this is like, that's just what it is. Like, you need to go find people that can help you go to the next level. I have those people in my life. You need to have them in your life as well. So, construction champions, make sure you go to our website, constructionchampionspodcast.com. Check out all of our great partners, as well as join our Construction Champions Mastermind group on Facebook, where we're connecting listeners and guests. And actually, we're just connecting the construction industry as a whole, bringing everybody together. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be. Champions, I am super excited to talk to you about our partner, contractor staffing source. Paul and his team have over 40 years, or Paul himself has over 40 years of experience in construction, and he knows what it takes to not only grow and scale a company, but also hire the absolute best for your company. And with this partnership, we have put together an amazing bundle of free resources, from his free $1 Million Hire course to a free DIS assessment, to a free cognitive ability assessment. All you have to do is go click the links at Construction Champions Podcast or in the show notes for this to access all these free resources. This is the kind of partnerships that Construction Champions Podcast will be bringing. Ones that add value, just like all of our other ones. This one adds massive value to your company and where you're headed in the future, so you can continue to grow and become the champion you were meant to be.